Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and 25 cast members have been confirmed for Avengers Doomsday. Plus, Robert Downey Jr., of course, as Dr. Doom. Now, we got a stage full of chairs with the names of all the returning cast for this huge movie. We've got Avengers, we've got X-Men, we've got the Fantastic Four. This cast is stacked, but we couldn't help but notice that there are a few names missing from this list, and if you ask me, there are some pretty glaring omissions. I mean, where is Spider-Man? Where is Doctor Strange? Where's the Hulk? Well, we may have our answer. RDJ and Marvel Studios may have just revealed on social media that there are more names to come for this cast. RDJ said in a post complimenting this impressive cast that surely that's it, to which Marvel Studios replied there is always room for more.
What, you wanted more?
So I think that these 25 names that we got plus Doom is just half of the Doomsday cast. That's right, to the right of RDJ's chair, I think there will be another 25 chairs of names, placing RDJ right in the center of the total lineup, which, I mean, of course, he's gonna be in the middle, right where he belongs. He's earned it. So I want to tell you exactly who I think will make up the remaining 25 cast members for Avengers Doomsday and why they are being saved for a later announcement. And hey guys, I don't know about you, but all of this hype around Avengers Doomsday has gotten me more excited about Marvel than I have been in a long time. And if the same is true for you, be sure to check out our merch store, ScreenCrushMerch.com, where we have lots of Marvel-inspired parody shirts like the Fraser Beast shirt, the Gambit Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself, and of course, America's Ass, and many, many more. So I'm wondering, could this first half of the cast that has been revealed, is it just a random selection of characters, or is there a significance to this half being on one side of Doctor Doom and the other half that I think they're going to announce being on the opposite side of Doom? Let me explain. So we know that Secret Wars is all about two giant groups going face to face with each other. Now, in the original comics, it was a giant group of heroes versus a giant group of villains. But in the 2015 Multiverse version, it was two entire worlds facing off to save their respective universes from being destroyed by an incursion. An incursion being the colliding of two realities, an event where one or both realities will be destroyed, and a universe's only hope of survival is to destroy the other universe first. Now, the Multiverse Saga's Secret War movie will likely be more so adapting the 2015 version of the comic, and with this inordinate amount of Fox X-Men characters, it has led some to believe that we'll essentially be seeing an Avengers versus X-Men scenario, which, I mean, hey, sign me up. The Avengers being on Earth 616, the mainline MCU that we've been following since the first Iron Man, and then the other universe being the one that we saw Monica Rambeau wake up in the post-credit scene of the Marvels. That universe likely being almost identical to the universe of those early 2000s Fox X-Men movies, and I think probably the same universe that Deadpool is in. Now, as much as I would love to see the Avengers and the X-Men tussle, I am beginning to think that we will actually see them team up to take on Doctor Doom. Of course, we'll probably see them fight early on in the movie, they'll be at odds briefly, but we could then see these 25 characters from different universes join forces and together be the team of, let's work together to figure this out, while the other 25 characters who have yet to be announced and that we will be getting to here in a second, they will be the ones who want to destroy the other universe in order to save their own reality from certain death.
What did you say?
Now, will these other 25 characters be Team Doom? Maybe, but some of them may just be Team Save My Own Ass and trying to kill each other, meaning that these other 25 characters that have yet to be announced, they could themselves also be from separate universes, just like in the first 25 they announced included Avengers and X-Men from separate universes. Now, this means that in the other half of the cast, the other 25, we will be seeing Avengers and more X-Men. And I think Doom's place in all of this is to serve as a dividing line between those who want to work together and those who want to fight. I think it's possible that Doom may not even have really a stake in the game. In fact, he may not be from either universe. In the original Secret Wars comic, we saw the character called the Beyonder send our heroes and villains to Battleworld to fight to the death, seeing who could come out on top, essentially serving as a spectator with no skin in the game. So perhaps in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, we'll see their universe get destroyed, and in Avengers Doomsday, we could see the Fantastic Four trying to prevent that from ever happening again to another universe, meaning that they aren't from 616 and they aren't from the X-Men universe either. They are a third party who could be trying to like broker a deal, while Doom, who is also from that Fantastic Four universe, universe, he has a similar goal of stopping incursions, but he is taking the approach of it has to get worse before it gets better. And he will insist that these two universes, Universe 616, the mainline MCU, and the X-Men universe, he'll insist that they have to fight it out or both die, just like that scene in The Dark Knight with the boats.
So, who's it gonna be? Harvey Dent's most wanted scumbag collection, or the sweet and innocent civilians?
One team will be taking the we don't trade lives approach that we heard Captain America say in Infinity War.
We don't trade lives, Vision.
While the other will be taking the more isolationist approach. And I wouldn't be surprised if Doom, as the spectator, he is putting these two worlds against each other in this incursion, and whichever one wins out is the one that he will then go and conquer and make his new home universe. It would make sense that he would want to live in the strongest of these two. Okay, so I've buried the lead long enough. Now let's get into what you are here for. Who the hell are the other 25 chairs going to be? Well, the most obvious choice for me is freaking Spider-Man. I mean, come on, we waited for years to have Spider-Man join the MCU, and there is no way, pun intended, that he doesn't show up in the next Avengers movie. In fact, I think he'll be one of the main characters of that movie. Not only did we already get a huge multiverse movie in Spider-Man No Way Home that served as a really big piece of setup for this saga as a whole, but there's also the relationship between Tony Stark and Peter Parker that has been developed and that I think will play a crucial role in Doomsday. The MCU version of Spider-Man looked at Tony like a father. I mean, in Tony's final moments of life in Endgame, we saw his best friend Rhodey, his wife Pepper, and Peter Parker be the only three who got a final moment with him. The Russos, the directors of Infinity War and Endgame, and the directors of Doomsday and Secret Wars have stated that Tony's death in Endgame will tie directly into the version of Doctor Doom that RDJ is giving us in this movie. I think that that likely means that he, Doom, and Tony are variants of one another. But, regardless of that, we can confirm that there will be an acknowledgement that these two share a face. There is a connection between these two characters. So to those of you who said that they just weren't even going to acknowledge the fact that he looked like Tony Stark, so I can only imagine how conflicted Peter will feel when a version of his old mentor shows up and tells him his view of how to save the multiverse. In Civil War, Peter followed Tony in the battle against Team Cap, but you'd think that now Peter has matured and grown into his own man. I mean, that's what No Way Home was really about. And you would think that he wouldn't be so easily manipulated by his admiration for Tony Stark. And I don't think he will. I think there will be like a honeymoon phase where he is just taken aback by the return of his mentor, and we will see him join Tony's side, but it's not gonna last. At first, Peter may be quick to join the side of his old mentor, but he'll also be quick to realize that this guy, Dr. Doom, is very different from the Tony Stark that he knew. And I could see Peter ultimately end up switching sides and then give us that heartbreaking fight between Spider-Man and Doom either at the end of Doomsday or in Secret Wars. And Spider-Man will probably have the black suit by then, and we can see him and Doom really go at it. Now, next, I'm gonna need my Hulks. Bruce Banner is still at large, literally, in the MCU. He's an OG Avenger. He is very calculated and logical. He and Tony, they were very close, as we saw not only in the Infinity Saga movies, but also, as we learned in She-Hulk, they spent a lot of time together post-snap.
Tony built it for me a few years ago. Tony Stark.
So I could see Bruce using his logic-based mind to run the numbers in his head and ultimately agreeing with Doom that there's only one way out, destroying the other universe. But then we could see the not-so-logical side of Bruce Banner re-emerge, the very emotional and in touch with his feelings Hulk. And ironically, it might be the enormous green rage monster that is able to convince Bruce that he is wrong for following Doom. And then of course there's She-Hulk. I know a lot of you don't like She-Hulk, whatever. I thought the show was pretty good, and the character in the comics is just awesome. She has been a big part of this post-Endgame era of Marvel, and I think it's only fitting that she be alongside her cousin in this next Avengers movie. She's also a legal mind, so you could see her like also sharing that risk calculation mentality of those who are allowing their own dread and feeling of doom to convince them to try and destroy that other reality in order to save their own. Now, speaking of She-Hulk, another great part of that show was the man himself, Wong. I think Wong will totally be in Doomsday. He too has served a big part in the Multiverse saga. His character was one of my favorite parts of Multiverse of Madness, and with Wong, we should also see the return of America Chavez, whose powers are literally the ability to travel the multiverse. And then of course, Doctor Strange, who, I mean, come on, it's Doctor Strange. He's been in 2 multiverse movies this saga already, and in No Way Home, he was very determined to send all of those Spider-Man adjacent variants, even if that meant sending them to their death.
In the grand calculus of the multiverse, their sacrifice means infinitely more than their lives.
Because remember, the prime objective of Doctor Strange is
Protecting your reality, douchebag.
Now, alongside Strange, we're of course going to need Clea.
You caused an incursion, and we're gonna fix it.
Next up, we have Star-Lord. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 ended with Star-Lord returning to Earth, so I seriously doubt he'd sit out an invasion of his home planet, and I really love the idea of him like showing up at Avengers Tower and being like, hey, Star-Lord here, former leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I've actually fought alongside the Avengers before, fought Thanos. So.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by.
Star-Lord.
Who?
Now, speaking of retired heroes who are just hanging around on Earth, we have got Clint Barton's Hawkeye, who, remember, just got his family back after living without them for all of those years after the snap. So I could see Clint willing to do anything to not lose them again. Perhaps even taking back up his Ronin alias, which he did a lot of dark shit as Ronin, and he could be prepared to do more dark shit as Ronin. And we have to remember that he has passed that moniker of Hawkeye on to Kate Bishop. Now, while we're on the topic of former Avengers, OGs if you will, we do have to have Rhodey, especially in a story where the main villain is a version of his late best friend. It makes total sense that we would see Rhodey follow Doom. Rhodey is also a military man. He's been put in tough decisions before where he had hard choices that had to be made, choices that you could perhaps make the argument were the right choice, but they still keep you up at night. Now, Rhodey was kind of done dirty in Secret Invasion, and I'm still waiting on that Armor Wars movie, so he better be in this movie. Now, speaking of Secret Invasion and characters who were done dirty, we do have to bring Nick Fury back. He was already benched for Infinity War and Endgame, and we need him in Avengers Doomsday, and we know that he also has a big military background, and he could totally have that isolationist mentality, which we saw him have in films like The Avengers and Winter Soldier.
I don't think you understand what you've started. Letting the Avengers loose on this world. They're dangerous.
They surely are. And the whole world knows it. Every world knows it.
And I hope to see Nick Fury tell that other universe,
Keep on stepping.
Now, all of this talk of Nick Fury also has me thinking about our beloved Marvels. We've got Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and of course, Monica Rambeau. Sticking on the theme of military backgrounds, Captain Marvel falls into that camp, and she really is one of the big protectors of this universe.
And if you don't mind my asking, where the hell have you been all this time?
There are a lot of other planets in the universe.
And I think Miss Marvel would likely be inclined to follow her role model, Carol Danvers, without question, similar to how Peter Parker followed Tony Stark in Civil War. And this opens the door for some great character development for Kamala Khan if we get to see her disagree with Carol and ultimately switch teams and maybe even be the one who convinces Carol that there is a better way. Now, in a movie that is likely featuring the exact same Kelsey Grammer beast that we saw at the end of the Marvels, we have to of course assume that we will be seeing Monica Rambeau in this movie. And I think she's actually going to have a pretty unique role in this movie. I think that she will be serving as a bit of a middle woman between these two realities, and that she will be trying to broker a peace deal between them. And hey, staying on theme with the Marvels, we do know that Monica wakes up in that X-Men universe and she comes in contact with a variant of her mother who is actually serving under the moniker of Binary.
What happened?
We were hoping you could tell us. All we know is that Binary found her.
So she'll surely be there too. And we've got to include Valkyrie, who we last saw in the Marvels, and you gotta have the King of Asgard. I've discussed in previous breakdown videos for this big Doomsday casting announcement that, like in Infinity War, we'll probably have several groups in varying places around the globe and around the galaxy in this Doomsday movie. So similar to how Wakanda took its stand in Infinity War, we could see New Asgard do the same thing in this one. And hey, Valkyrie, she has a true warrior's mentality. Her prime objective is to protect protection of her people. They've already had their home destroyed once in Thor Ragnarok, so it would make sense for her to be on the side of doing anything to save their reality and her people, even if it means the death of another universe. And it would be interesting to see her and Thor on opposite sides of the issue. Now, next I want to throw in Moon Knight solely to appease Ryan.
I think Moon Knight would have been a fun addition. I really would have liked.
And I'm also going to include Vision, White Vision specifically. We haven't seen him since he bolted out of Westview at the end of WandaVision, but we did see some concept art of him and Star-Lord that I'm not going to show to you here. I don't want Kevin Feige to snipe me, but you know, Vision, he is a very logical guy. He took Tony's side in Civil War from a logical standpoint, a calculated standpoint. You know, I mean, Vision is a robot. I could see him joining Doom, joining Bruce, and other like calculated, logical thinkers in seeing that there is really no way out of this situation that doesn't involve destroying that other reality. Okay, next, and this one's fun, we've got the Wasp. Now, we do have confirmation of Ant-Man. He's on the other side, the first 25, and I love the idea of Ant-Man and the Wasp being on different sides of this war, and both of them having learned essentially different lessons from their traumatic encounter with Kang and Quantumania. Scott Lang isn't the type of guy to agree to committing a genocide, even if that means his own death and the death of everyone he knows and loves. It's just not his style. But Wasp, I don't know, man. I could see her having a very different outlook than Scott. She was gone for 5 years, and she just got back. She feels lucky to have escaped the quantum realm and have defeated Kang without losing her mom, her dad, or Scott. I could see her being on a warpath, determined to do anything to save her reality. And all right, now let's talk X-Men. I said that I think this other 25 will also include X-Men. In that first 25, we got a lot of classic early 2000s X-Men joining the cast, like Cyclops and Nightcrawler, so I think we are going to see Jean Grey back as well, specifically Famke Jensken's version of the character who we have seen return in films like The Wolverine and Days of Future Past in that new future. Seeing her be on an opposing side to Professor X, Cyclops, and Magneto would be truly awesome, and her being on this other team could be what persuades Wolverine to be on that side as well because he's so infatuated with her. Logan has never gotten over Jean. He loves her dearly. And there's also the fact that Wolverine and Deadpool, they did just save their universe from annihilation, which I think is the same universe that this X-Men universe is that Monica went to. So I could see these two, Deadpool and Wolverine, in their violent natures, taking that, you know, that other universe, they started this shit mentality and just going to war with them. Plus, it'd be kind of funny how Deadpool was kind of rejected from joining the MCU, Universe 616, and, you know, Paradox was all about, oh, the sacred timeline and all that. So I could definitely see Deadpool still taking that approach of, you know what, those guys. And, of course, with Deadpool has to come Colossus. Colossus is a big part of the Secret Wars comics. There's also that game where we see him get wrecked by Doom. Really love this version of Colossus. That first Deadpool movie gave us the best version of the character to ever hit the screen, so I hope to see and think that we will see him alongside Deadpool in this other lineup of 25 characters. And that brings me to our final two spots on this list, which I think will be filled by Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, and of course Peggy Carter, aka Captain Marvel, portrayed of course by Haley Atwell. Captain Carter has been a huge part of the multiverse saga with her appearance in Multiverse of Madness and especially with her role in What If. In Endgame, we saw Steve Rogers return to the past to live a life with Peggy, likely in a different reality, and maybe that reality is the reality of the X-Men that is now colliding with Steve's former home universe, Universe 616. I love the idea of seeing Steve Rogers, who has a wife and a family now, and a life that, you know, he always wanted in this new reality, and having him put in a position where he has to choose essentially between his two homes. And then hopefully in a film like Secret Wars, we could see Sam, the new Captain America, and Steve Rogers, they fight it out, and Sam as Captain America, and Steve likely as his other superhero alias, Nomad, they could have a great fight that ultimately ends with Sam winning by doing his classic, "You gotta do better" speech.
You've gotta do better, Senator.
I personally have a theory that Sam's shield that he got from Steve is a shield that essentially exists outside of time and space, and that was never actually created, meaning that the shield that old man Steve Rogers gives Sam Wilson at the end of Endgame, I think we'll actually see that shield be given to Steve by Sam in Secret Wars, and then when Steve is old, he returns to the past and he gives that shield to Sam, creating a time loop for this shield. I know that was a lot. I've actually got a video about that coming out. I think maybe check out my Twitter. That'll probably be there. So guys, those are the 25 other cast members that I think are going to be announced. We've got Steve Rogers, Peggy Carter, Hulk, Star-Lord, Wong, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Valkyrie, Wasp, Vision, She-Hulk, Rhodey, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, Miss Marvel, Nick Fury, America Chavez, Deadpool, Wolverine, Clea, Jean Grey, Binary, and Colossus. And even after adding another 25 names to this list, we are still missing some big names like the Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man, and many, many more.
Wait, you don't have the Avengers?
And these are characters that, hey, they may not be in Doomsday, but I think they will definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, be in Avengers Secret Wars. So guys, let me know. Do you think that we're going to get another round of casting for Doomsday, perhaps another 25 names? And if so, what's your list? Who do you want to see announced in addition to this other 25? Let me know down in the comments below, or you can at me on Twitter or find me on our Discord, link in the description below. If you're new here, please do feel free to subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.